Are you lacking sleep right now? Are you struggling to get a good night's sleep? Maybe you're waking up throughout the night or you're having trouble falling asleep. Do you wake up feeling really tired or like you haven't really gotten a good night's sleep, even if you have slept through the night? Maybe you're not getting a very deep sleep. Are you feeling sluggish and tired and fatigued throughout the day, causing you to maybe grab, a few more cups of coffee or maybe an energy drink or something like that? Are you maybe struggling with your mood? Do you feel down, unmotivated, maybe irritated, angry? Well, stick with me in this video and I am going to show you what possibly could be the number one reason for this happening to you. Hello, my beautiful people. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Goretti and I'm the counselor and transformational coach at Butterfly Project. So today, this is going to be a part 2 to a video that I previously did, and I will link it up here. And one of the things was when I did that video, I know it was kind of a long video. I really wanted to go in depth with it. Probably could have done a better video. I wasn't feeling the greatest. When I recorded that, I was actually feeling really tired. I was having some sleep issues as well over the last, few weeks, few months. And this is one of the big reasons that prompted me to do this, but also a lot of my clients are really struggling with this. So the video that I did about the circadian rhythm, okay, if you don't know what that is basically just how our bodies really follow the rhythm of the sun and the moon. So when there's, sun or daylight out and when it's nighttime. Okay, and there's certain things that happen within our body, certain functions, our organs, that follow along with that. So the reason that I'm doing this part 2 and follow up to that video is because there was a couple of things that I did forget to mention. So part of this rhythm, and if you haven't watched that video, I would really highly suggest that you do. But I will show you again because you guys, I'm not very tech savvy, so I like doing things old school. I just printed this off of, the internet, off of Google. And that's kind of just the basic one. And then I also really like the Chinese medicine one here. It goes into a lot more depth. So I was kind of going back and forth between both in that other video, but basically, there are different times a day that are best for certain things, right? So for instance, exercise is really good, around 5 p.m., right? Between 5 and 7, kind of, before you have your dinner. Dinner should actually be a lighter meal. You should be having your biggest meal around, midday, or what we call lunch hour, between 11 and 1 p.m. Typically, our bodies start to kind of wake up around 7:30, 8 o'clock. Even our intestines, our digestive system starts to kind of wake up. Typically, people will have a bowel movement around 8:30 in the morning. Sorry, TMI, I know, but it is, part of the process. When we've fallen asleep, we should be getting into that deep sleep around 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. That's when we're having the deepest sleep. And the reason is because our organs, need to detox. So things like our liver, our lungs, our blood, right? And so when we go into, kind of that deep sleep, this is when our body is recovering, right? Our organs are recovering. Everything, kind of slows down so that, our body can do the work. Our bodies are incredible. It can survive, it can regenerate itself. It can heal itself. Our bodies are really just amazing, machines. If we, set it up for a good environment to be able to do that. Okay. So I've had sleep issues my whole life and I really didn't understand until I learned about this. Okay. And so if you are struggling, maybe you're going to bed really late. A lot of my clients, me included, have an issue with that, but maybe you're going to bed really late. So what I always tell people is, slow and steady wins the race. So it means, maybe going back half an hour, every few days, if you can. Or maybe every week, kind of set that goal to be able to, go to bed half an hour earlier. Maybe it's 15-minute increments, right? So whatever it is that you need to do, to kind of get yourself to bed earlier. This is just an example, one example, so that you can be into that deep sleep by the 1 a.m. It's really important. And I actually have witnessed this around 1:30 a.m. I notice if I'm still awake, past 1, I will notice that all of a sudden I get super cold, right? Like my body temperature drops. That's part of this. That is part of, our organs going into that place of, regenerating itself and detoxing, okay, repairing itself, right? So there's also times of the day where our temperature, rises. There's times of the day where our blood pressure, increases or lowers. We should be having naps in the middle of the day, our bodies were made for that. So what I forgot to mention in the other video that is really, really, really important, and that's why it needs a video all on its own, is that if you are finding that throughout the day, especially that afternoon, right? The afternoon dip, that actually is normal and part of the cycle for our body, part of this, circadian rhythm. And this actually is a time where, like I said, you should be taking a little nap, right? That's why they call it, the afternoon siesta, right? So taking a little nap, or it actually, if you can't, it's just downtime. Okay, where you're not doing anything, you're kind of just resting, just laying down. Don't have to nap. I really struggle to nap throughout the day, but just, laying down, closing your eyes. It's really just a time to kind of like recharge a little bit, okay? But that's an example. So that's not the time to go and grab, anything with caffeine in it, coffee, energy drinks, chocolate, whatever it is to give you that energy boost. The problem is when you do that, you now threw your circadian rhythm out of whack. Okay? So you don't want to do that. It's kind of like, you just introduced caffeine into your body. This is the other thing, if you guys know. I also specialize in helping people with, counseling for addictions. And this is, one of the things with caffeine. I mean, caffeine is... considered a drug. Not sure if I could say that on here, but it is considered that. And so because of that, it has, it's like any other medicine, right? It has the halftime, right? Where the potency, how long it takes to wear off. So if you are drinking coffee anytime or having any kind of caffeine past, I think it's like around 2 p.m., it is going to still be in your system when your body's trying to sleep. Okay, so around 9 o'clock is when melatonin levels start to decrease. Okay, melatonin starts to increase. And like melatonin starts to, kind of secrete into your system, into your body, into your brain. And if you've taken melatonin to help you sleep, you'll understand, right? It helps, kind of get you really chilled out and mellowed out and drowsy a little bit. So our body will naturally produce that. Well, now you're affecting that when you're taking in caffeine. So now your body's not going to be able to do that until later on. So people, when we do this, it's kind of like a vicious cycle, right? You try to get the boost in the afternoon, and then what happens is now you're struggling to fall asleep on time, and then it just pushes your whole next day. Like it's a vicious, never-ending cycle. Trust me, I know, because I have been there. And so then you're not going to go into the deep sleep when your body needs that certain amount of time, as well as that deep sleep to be able to repair itself, to detox, to regenerate, the cells. So you're actually not allowing your body to do what it needs to do, to heal, to function, to be at its best, to be optimal, to be healthy. Okay. So it's not just the amount of sleep, it's also the quality of sleep. Okay. And so, you'll still have that caffeine in your system, not allowing you to go into that deep sleep, right? So this also forces people to try to take things like, sleep medication and that kind of stuff. And, when really it's not necessary. It's just that we need to adjust ourselves to go along with this rhythm, okay, this natural rhythm that our bodies have been, made for, right? From the beginning of time when we're living out in the wild, this was it. We didn't have, and this brings me to my second point that I wanted to make that I forgot in that video, is our bodies were made to go with the sun and the moon. So that means when the sun rises, we're supposed to be waking up and getting our day going. And when the sun sets, we're supposed to be going to bed. This is why in the summertime, right, we have longer days. Why? Because we would, farm and, need to have more light to do those things. And in the winter, less light because we aren't growing anything and everything's going into hibernation. That means we also should be getting more rest and hibernation because we're meant to be doing a lot more work in the spring, summer, and fall, right? So our bodies go with, the cycle of, like I said, the world, the moon, the sun. So because we're not supposed to be having light after it gets dark, this is an issue now with, the technology age. I mean, it already started many, many years ago when the, TV came out, right? What did people do before? They would listen to the radio. They would listen to shows on the radio, and then the TVs came out and it was just black and white. And I still remember, I think, around when I was very, very little, that I think TVs used to shut off, the programs used to shut off at a certain time, and it was no more TV, right? If you remember, I remember, sometimes falling asleep, with the TV on, and you would have those colored bars or whatever and that horrible sound. So yeah, we weren't meant to have that, but now with our phones and iPads and whatever else that we have, computers and all those things, and even having ring lights and stuff like that to be able to read when it's late. No, we should be doing all of that prior to our bedtime. Prior to we should have all lights turned off. I mean, really, essentially, optimally, it would be around the 9 p.m. mark, 9 to 10. This is when we're supposed to have that downtime. We're supposed to be, doing calming, soothing, type things. This is a really good time for things like yoga or meditation. Could be socializing, cuddling up, those kinds of things. It should be during that time. So let's say it is 11 p.m., 11:30 p.m. when you should be going to sleep. Let's say 10:30 to 11:30, here you are, or midnight or whatever it is, watching things on, your device, your electronic device. You got all that light shining in your face. When you have that light shining in your face, it tells your body time to wake up. So then people think, oh my goodness, maybe it's my brain is stimulated. That's part of it, of having trouble to go to sleep. Your brain is being stimulated. But the other problem is that now you put light onto your skin and told your body it is time to wake up. So now your body it's kind of like hitting the restart button, and your body wants to start that circadian rhythm for when you're supposed to be waking up at 7:30ish, 8 o'clock in the morning. That's not what we want to do, right? So this is why it's so important to shut down all TV, electronics, things like that. I would say if you're going to bed around 11:30, midnight at the absolute latest, but anytime between 10:30 and 11:30 is a really good time. We want to shut off all those electronics for that, hour before at least. Because we don't want to kickstart, the circadian rhythm in our body and tell our bodies, time to wake up. So this is why people struggle to sleep, struggle to fall asleep, or struggle to stay asleep throughout the night. They're waking up, or they might sleep through the night and they're like, why do I feel so tired? Because you didn't hit that deep sleep that you needed to. And these could be reasons why that is happening. Okay. The other thing is, in the first half hour from the time that you wake up, it is important for you to get as much sunlight onto your skin, as much of your skin as possible. Okay. 10 minutes of this. They've actually found that this is like a restart, kickstart for the circadian rhythm. Excuse me. So if you don't have, maybe it's a cloudy day, then you can use artificial light. Okay, so they have those lights that are kind of mimic the sun with the vitamin D. So you can have those for those days, or maybe you can't access going outside or going to a window, right? Then you can use the artificial light. Preferably, you would want to either stand, with your face, or as much, with a shirt off or whatever, in front of a window with direct sunlight, or going outside, again, as much skin as possible, don't forget there's neighbors around and stuff, right? So depending where you are, use discretion, okay, common sense, but as much of your skin as possible being exposed, right? So obviously in, the harsh winter months where I am in the northern hemisphere, we don't want to be, going outside. So we're going to stand in front of a window. There's lots of sunny days in the winter. Stand in front of the window with direct sunlight or using the artificial light, right? But in the summer months, as much as possible, maybe you like to have that cup of coffee in the morning. Go sit outside, in a sundress or shorts, and, no shirt on if you're a guy, and, whatever. Or if you're a girl, if you, no neighbors around, or if you got enough, privacy, go to town, as much skin as possible exposed to the sunlight. Okay. And so if you are using artificial light, you want it on your face, because your face is what's kind of registering it the most. Okay. Yeah, this is also going to help, of course, for vitamin D, which also helps with your mood and things like that. But premise of this video was limit your caffeine intake after 2 p.m. or eliminate it all together completely is the best. And also, no using any kind of lights, right? This is why people dim the lights or turn lights off, in the evenings and things like that, but not having, any electronic devices in your face. I mean, the TV, it's far enough away, but still, again, we should be shutting those down half an hour to an hour before bed. However, it is more the handheld electronics, because they are directly putting that light in your face, which really isn't the best, okay? Because it's going to restart the circadian rhythm, and then we're going to have those sleep issues. All right, my loves? So I hope that this was helpful for you today. I know that this is information that has been super helpful for me in my life. If you notice already today, I'm feeling a lot better, a lot more energy and a lot more awake. It's really been helping my clients as well. Yeah, and this, might seem like simple information, but it truly, truly is important. This can completely change your life, because we need sleep to feel good, to be healthy. This also affects, our immune systems, like just everything. It affects our organs, our mood, our mental health, our emotional health, our physical health, right? Even our spiritual health, right? Like if you're really tired, you're not going to have, time to do things like meditating or praying or, whatever it is that you do spiritually. So this is really important. Yeah, I have a few other videos I want to do, but I'm going to shut this one down here. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Again, don't forget to do all the things. Like this video, comment down below, share my video and channel with others. I would truly appreciate you doing any number of these things. It really is the best way to support me, to help my channel to grow, and to get my messages out there. If you know me, you know that one of my biggest passions is to help as many people as I possibly can. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you get notified of new videos. If you're new here, welcome. I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and be part of this ever-growing butterfly community. And if you are a current subscriber, thank you so much, you guys. Don't forget to do all those things. And as always, I wish you all peace, love, and light. Until next time, bye-bye.